And we're live. Yo, welcome to this special edition of Beat People podcast. I got a special guest, Glen Darcey from Arturia here, as we're going to be talking about the beat step. And that's your lower third, Glen. I like it. That's what's up. So I will go through just introduce. Then we're gonna, come back with Glen and his lower third. Bryce is on the show tonight. This is our first time doing a night show, but it's good because it's DrumBrute Day. And
yes, sir.
Yeah, good to have you back, man.
Yeah, happy to be here, man. Happy to be here. Get to talk it up about the DrumBrute, man.
No doubt, no doubt. Welcome back. And Kenneth, I saw that you had the lights out a little while ago. Was you trying to get your sexy on?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I mean, on a special night like tonight, I'm in a celebration mood.
Yeah.
So I got my little green glowing lights going on, and I got my cab salve. I got my aged Gouda. Yeah, got my aged Gouda.
We got the cheese and the wine platters going.
Yeah, so
Wow,
we're in celebration mode. Plus, this is my second show today. So I did a show at like 12 o'clock earlier today, and now we're hitting the late show. So it's like, man, you got to celebrate on a day like today.
And you got some different headphones on. I've never seen these headphones. Are these new that you got?
What, these?
Yeah, are those Sony's?
Oh yeah, these are Sony's. These are like my these are kind of like the ones that I use when I travel because they're small, and they're like in every radio station that you can go to. So I'm just kind of used to them. So
Gotcha. Yeah.
Hey,
Whoops.
oh, wow, what just happened?
That's my phone, man. Let me turn.
Hey, yeah, on Bryce's phone, Ken. Hey, I invited Stoney, so keep the lights on until Stoney joins. I know
if
y'all
Stoney comes in, I'm dropping them much lower. I'm dropping them much lower if Stoney comes on.
And back to Glen. Yeah, welcome to the show, Glen.
Thank you.
It's odd. What's odd here is that we've talked a million times, and I've been on the show on the show with you and Ken, and but this is your first time to the Beat People podcast, and I think it's perfect timing, obviously because it's DrumBrute Day. I heard somebody refer to it as DrumBrute Day earlier today, so that's just going to be officially today, DrumBrute Day.
Nice. Yeah. We can coin that.
No doubt. So what's going on, man? Tell the people, for the people that may not know who Glen Darcey is, tell them a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, I'm
Arturia guy, Glen Darcey.
I'm the vice president of product management for Arturia.
Mm-hmm.
My job is kind of to come up with the product ideas and the direction of the products for the company. And I've been doing that for about 5 years at Arturia. Did it at Akai for 6 years before that. Did a bunch of years of sound libraries and post-production, and before that worked at Roland and stuff. So
okay,
I'm 22.
22. young sprightly gentleman.
And you did skateboarding photography too, right?
Yeah. I was doing a lot of skate videos and stuff from about 2000 to about 2003, 2004 for a buddy of mine's company, Mountain. He owned
I know
a company called The Firm. Him and Ray Barbie.
Yep, I used to skate with Ray Barbie, so I know.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I know him when he lived in Corona. I don't know if you knew him back then. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I knew Ray when he was in Corona.
Yep. Yeah, he's a real good dude. He's a real good dude.
He's an awesome guy. He's one of my favorite people.
Yeah.
To get to hang with. He's a great musician as well. I played sax with his albums one time.
Are you serious? Yeah. Wow. Yeah. He's
his second album. I played on that.
Wow. Okay. Wow. That's cool.
He's into synths and drums and stuff. He's endorsed by Fender and Vans, and he's just an all-around amazing guy.
He is. Yep. Yeah. He's so busy, and we would skate together back in the Corona days when I lived back there. But I was close to his brother too, Andre. So we would hang out too. So yeah, real good people, really good people.
Ray's he's salt of the earth. He's as good as it gets.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Now, I used to skateboard too. I skateboarded for about 5 minutes on a little red plastic skateboard until I busted my knee open, and then I was like, I don't like this. I'm not doing it no more.
Yeah, I had to bring that little tidbit up because for those of us that you know that are in the skate culture, I mean, it's hearing names like Lance Mountain and Ray Barbie. They're kind of like, you know, those guys are living legends. So it's kind
Definitely.
of like, when I found that out, I was like, what are you talking about? Like,
Yeah.
I've actually got a picture. I got a painting on the wall up here that Lance painted for me. He does a lot of art.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. Wow, that's crazy.
Let's see if I can get it in the
one of his little characters or one of his
yeah, it's that one up there.
Okay.
It's he did one for, it's an old favorite skater of mine, a guy named Steve Olson from the 70s, and so Lance was doing up a series, and he did that for me after I did one of his videos.
Wow, that's cool.
12 that you had off to the side there, was it? That wasn't a Matrix 12 that you had off to the side, was it?
Oh no, that's my
no, right. Oh, okay,
Overheim
there it
expander.
Is. Yeah. So it's the expander. Okay. I was
about
close.
Yeah, you were close. You were half of it.
Glen's studio is the stuff of legend.
It's always fun to synth spot in the cave.
I see there's something pretty exciting right behind you there too, Glen. But
oh yeah, my new little modular.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, that new modular is making waves out here.
Yeah, this is cool.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
Let's get into the DrumBrute. There's been like, how do you think the reception has been today?
The reception's been pretty amazing. You know, the drum machine market, you know, we weren't really sure where it would go. Mm-hmm. You know, because drum machines go into fads and out of fads, and a lot of guys have moved away from drum machines and into the computer and stuff. There's a lot out there that, you know, are kind of expensive, like the Tempest and the Electron. Mm-hmm. We wanted to try to bring something, you know, with a whole lot of sound, a whole lot of flexibility, but do it at like a real price point that we kind of end up, you know, selling to a whole lot of people and getting a lot of people into it. It's kind of like what we try to do with, you know, our synths and stuff, is that we try to take the cool aspects of what's going on in the modular world and some of the underground stuff and try to make it available to everybody.
I think one of the cool things about today was basically kind of everywhere you went on the net, they had something going on with the DrumBrute. You know, Sonic State had something up, and you know, just everywhere you look, it was DrumBrute, which was kind of cool because you get a lot of you know, insight on it. So that, I think that, kudos to you guys for getting that information out there real quick. That was good to see.
Yeah, I think it was real, like it was very well coordinated. Even somebody, a couple of people hit me up in DMs like, I don't know if I've seen this in a long time, where, you know, it was kept pretty well secret besides the leaks at the last minute there. But then it was almost like you know, a thing that happened.
Right.
At a certain time of the day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It was cool to see the response, and you know, we got a lot of great comments from people, and yeah, it's pretty awesome. We're very proud of it. We've been working on it for a long time. You know, the people that we've kind of brought in that have gotten to hear it and gotten to give us feedback, they've given us some great feedback on the stuff, and we think that the sounds are really awesome. We didn't want to make the mistakes that some other companies have done with analog drum machines, and we wanted to bring some new sounds and do some other stuff too. So
now, have you heard the comparisons? Actually, I thought this was an interesting comparison. Somebody said, wow, it really does sound like a mixture between a TR-8 and a Vermona. Have you heard those comparisons?
TR-8?
Well, TR-808.
No, I haven't really heard it.
Yeah, that's pretty much what they said. TR-808. Right? Yeah, not the 8.
Well, I mean, there's hits of a whole bunch of different drum machines. You know, there's only so many percussion circuits that you can do because they all are kind of based on the same thing. They're based on, you know, either noise or a tone, and there's just a few ways to do noise, and there's a few ways to do tone, and you know, you kind of mix them together with envelope, and you know, it's just in the fine tuning and the tweaking of that. So like we've got kick 1 is kind of based on the 909 type of circuit. You know, it's not a 909 because we brought a whole lot more control out and we did some other stuff to it, but it's kind of based on that sound. We wanted, I can go backwards first. When we started doing this whole thing, we wanted to say, okay, so who are we going to sell an analog drum machine to? And, you know, there's kind of the techno guys that want the 909, you know, kick sound, guys that are more 808 influenced. And then there's the kind of the older electro guys that, you know, sit somewhere between the two. And probably more 808, kind of going a softer kind of chill electro thing. So we wanted to have both of those kind of sounds in there for the kicks, because you can't really do both with one kick sound. So we put the 2 kicks in there to give it kind of the 2 flavors. Nice. With the snare, you know, we wanted one that has good crack, but then you can pull it back and just get nice tone sound as well. The hats, we went a little harsh on the hats. We went, you know, kind of more 909-y kind of cutting edge on the hat sound.
Yep.
The clap is, we tried 1 or 2 other claps. That we hired to help us out with this was Mickey Delp from Delptronics, and he makes a great clap module. And, you know, we did a couple other things. We said, well, what if we did it more like this? And we did it a couple prototypes, and we're like, yeah, you know what, we really like the thunderclap, do that. So he kind of based it, he did the circuit based on the thunderclap, which was awesome.
Nice.
And there's a zap sound, and I kind of wanted something that was based off of like the old Kraftwerk kind of things, you know, the little percussive resonant filter things that they had. So we did the zap, and then we took it out so that you could do like, you know, full 70s disco, you know, do kind of things on it.
Yeah, I was playing with that, and the wife came down and was like, "What? Why does it sound like a disco in here?"
Yeah, so you can go like full Donna Summer on it, or you can dial it in and go like, you know, total Kraftwerk as well. So.
Sounds real dope.
And the reverse
delay on it was nice.
Well, and then what we were doing was you know, we started off with a whole bunch of drum samples that we were testing, and we were getting people's ratings and feedbacks. And one thing that I started doing making beats is I, you know, went on and reversed one of the cymbal samples. I said, man, we got to have a reverse cymbal. Can we do a reverse analog cymbal? Wow. And so I kind of challenged Mickey on that. I said, yeah, can we do this? And he was like, well, you know, the envelope's kind of hard to duplicate that just right, you know, get that, the total reverse envelope that cuts off properly. But Mickey nailed it, and cymbal on here, and it's true analog, and it sounds awesome. And you can do, if you time it right, you know, you can get the analog, the reverse fade up, and then trigger the cymbal on the down on it.
Right.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, nice.
And the other thing about Mickey, I was talking with Mickey in person at KnobCon just recently, and I kind of I was fortunate enough to be aware of the things that were going on, and I got to talk to him about it and about the project, and he was just really excited to get to work with Arturia on this, and how everybody's been kind of coming together and working on this project. It's really a interesting thing, because size wise, Corey, do you have like so we can kind of show? So we were standing directly next to the Roland booth while we were talking about this, because where he was situated at KnobCon was right by the Roland booth, and everybody kept asking me, oh, what do you think about the TR-09? What do you think about TR-09? I said, oh, it's really cool, but at that price point, my personal opinion is it's probably going to be forgotten really quickly. And I don't mean that to disparage Roland, but at the same time, like if you've played the TR-09 yet, the knobs are extremely small. And I love portable gear, but I love portable gear that's priced like portable gear.
Right.
Whereas these two products are basically right around the same price point. And these things are like full size knobs. It's like spacious, you know. The sequencer does everything that the other sequencer does of the competing products plus more. Like you guys did ratcheting on this thing and timing shifts, right? Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about the change from like the beat step style sequencer to this sequencer, and what kind of work went in there?
Yeah, well, we actually, the same engineer who did the BeatStep Pro sequencer did this. There were a lot of improvements along the way, especially in the timing of the sequencer and the external sync issues. But when he did it, I specifically wanted some different kind of performance things in the sequence. I didn't want it to just be another step sequencer. So, you know, we've got it's kind of not real time, but it's pseudo real time, quantized real time, I'll say, recording, so that you can play it and it will come in off of the 16th grid wherever you hit it.
Wow. So how do you guys determine that resolution?
We actually just determine a timing between each of the points, and then we can shift things forwards and backwards within that. We have a window, a maximum window before, you know, because if you shift one beat back all the way and you shift one beat all the way forward, you can't have gates that you don't want your second note to hit before your first one. Yeah. So we kind of have, you know, limits, constraints within that based on the tempo and the resolution and the amount of time that some of the gates take, because they're analog instruments, some require longer triggers, some require shorter. Like a clap requires 3 triggers that hit, you know, kind of one after another to get you that.
Oh, right, yeah.
Thing. So there's only so short that you can get your gate times.
And so
when you can swing a beat, when you can swing a beat and do a shift on it, you've got kind of a window of range that each step can kind of take place in. So when you turn the quantize off, you can play it and it will come into wherever that window is. Now you can also, if you just play it in quantize, you can also then just hold a step button, turn the swing button, and it's going to shift that one beat forward or backwards, and it shows the amount of shift in the display window.
So that's awesome. So you can do a global swing, right? And then you can also do an individual step swing. Can you do a swing per instrument?
I think you can, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you can do per instrument swing as well as global.
Yep.
I'll grab a unit right here.
Oh, you got one? Yeah, of course.
Although Corey's looks better than mine. We had Corey do he did some of the patterns for us, and he did some of the audio examples for us. So he's got the production unit, and I've got one of the protos. So his has the real paint job.
So
what's the difference in the paint?
Let's go back.
The original prototypes, the prototypes were more like a microbrute, mini brute.
Okay, and then and
the production ones, we decided to tie it more to the matrix brute finish, which is more of a metallic.
Oh, wow.
Corey said, "Oh, it's like a car finish or something."
Yeah, it does. It kind of looks like a car finish.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It looks good. Yeah,
it does look good. It does look good.
And if you could see this, I don't know if you can see this, Ken, but you see right there.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
You hit that button and it goes on
so
per
right
track.
there.
Oh, okay, nice. Yeah, and that's kind of how the BeatStep Pro is. Yeah, you can set like a per track thing on BeatStep Pro, but that's per track, not per drum, because you know BeatStep Pro has 2 melodic sequencers and then 3 melodic sequencers and then your drum. So, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, so you can have individual swing per instrument. You can have, shift on every step on every instrument, and you can set randomization on individual instruments or globally on the thing. So if you just want your hi-hat varying, you can set a little bit of random on the hi-hat and just have it changing up over the course of your song. Or if you want total random, you can just turn up random, and any instrument that you have playing in the pattern will be randomized.
And it works pretty well too. I mean, it's nice to be able to say this one, because for me, I'm the type of guy when it comes to programming beats and coming from the MPC. The way I usually program is I'll usually have some things locked to the grid.
Right.
Hi-hats I usually let just fly loose. Because that makes it feel like I feel like you get that feeling of things are locked in, but you kind of get that humanized feel.
Right.
So it's good to be able to swing things and kind of individual. Some things may need to swing, some things may not. So it's good to have that just current track setting there. It works out pretty
Yeah,
well.
yeah. For me, it's the same thing. Like I'll dial the cymbal down to like almost like a ride cymbal sound, and I might want that just locked solid. But then I might like use the hi-hats, the maracas or something, and have a swing on those things, so you kind of get the beats pushing against each other.
Right. Yep.
One other thing that you can do in the sequencer here is you can go into polyrhythm mode. So each drum can have its own length. So your kick drum can be 4 steps, and your snare can be 64, and you can make like your hi-hats like 13.
Right.
They start looping kind of out of sequence with everything else, and it creates
a different pattern. Yeah.
It's like a natural evolution through the pattern.
Yeah, exactly. Almost creates a never-ending pattern, kind of. Because, you know, something's, yeah.
And then you got the random, which I use on the BeatStep Pro all the time. Like, I absolutely love doing things like, if you get smart with it, you can do certain things like, so if you put like one trigger in one spot and one trigger in another spot, and then just use the random, it'll make these really musical patterns out of it. So I use random on my BeatStep Pro all the time. Super useful.
Yeah, yeah. It's real. You know, it can go from being musical to being totally out there. And, you know, at the heart, we always want it to be a musical instrument. But, you know, we also want to tie into what people are doing in the modular world, where they're using a lot of random source and stuff. So
Glenn just said that modular isn't music. He just said modular is nothing but bug noise.
Nice. It's an acquired taste. Bug noise is.
Bug noise is an acquired taste. It is.
I want to go back to the look of the DrumBrute right quick. Somebody said something interesting. They said an SE version and silver would be fresh. Just a heads up, Glenn. I'm reading these chats as they come up.
We're getting requests for audio fuse as well.
Yeah.
So
hey, I got another question I want to throw out there, and this is an interesting question.
Look at that. Look, hold on. Look at it. Look at it.
There it is. Now that's fancy. It's got all leather and silver.
You notice how Glenn tends to do the same thing that I do on the show?
He does. I was just going to say that.
Grabs it.
It's like you say something and he just pulls it up out. It's like,
I'm notorious for doing that in shows as well. So
you guys are kindred spirits.
That's right. That's right. We both got our wine, our cheese, and our random amounts of gear.
Yeah.
Hey, I got a question, Glenn. This came up.
MIDI through box? Oh, okay.
Oh, there you go. He's gonna make me start diving across my studio.
So with I've been, you know, kind of reading online all day back and forth when I'm kind of supposed to be working, but you know, I was a little distracted today. But one of the interesting things, and it actually just came up in another question, people, you know, drum machines and samplers, you know, some people see them as one and the same, and then some people, you know, if a new sampler comes out, it's always like, why isn't there this, that, or that, the other? And if a new drum machine comes out, why doesn't it have this, that, and the other? So somebody was asking, how come, or did you all ever consider making this like a sampler drum machine hybrid?
There was actually talk at one point about doing hybrid, about, you know, making 4 voices or something, a sampling, and then the rest analog. The problem I have with that, I'll say the problem I have with that is that it ends up not being either. You know, when you try to be everything, you can end up being nothing. A product that's everything to everybody and ends up being nothing to anybody. So, you know, I'd rather that we focus and we either be a really good sampler or a really good analog drum machine. And if you want them, then you go buy an analog drum machine, you buy a sampler. But trying to do the two, to me, it never ends up being right. You have to build a user interface for sampling and sample editing and loading samples and finding samples and all the stuff that you have to do for that. And then you need a user interface for the analog stuff. And the two kind of, you end up with screens and lots of menus and lots of other stuff, and it becomes kind of just, it starts to get away from a musical instrument.
Gotcha. You know what? Actually, you make a good point.
I'm sorry. Yeah, there's few that have done it really well. And like the MPC did the sampler really well. if they tried to do analog voice on an MPC, it probably would have been a failure. But
Yep.
Well, here, and that's the other thing too. You make a good point, because the Tempest originally was supposed to be a sampler at Drum Machine, and then, you know, from what I understand, Roger Lynn and Dave Smith, after years of working on the thing, decided, like, you know, we're trying to design two different things for two different customers.
yeah,
So, you know, Roger Lynn's customers wants a sampler, and Dave Smith's customers want a drum machine. So that's an interesting point. It's tried and true, actually. You know, I'd rather have something that does one thing well rather than just kind of having this hodgepodge or something. And you know what? I think doing samplers, man, sample heads, we a fickle bunch, Jack.
And then there's the whole point of you know, the more functionality that you add, the more of a price you're going to pay. You know, so there's that too. You know, so
yeah, totally.
So one thing I wanted to touch base on real quick, because I've been kind of manning a lot of the social media today. So I was really adamant to like hop on as many threads and spread the word, because I really wanted to support Arturia, Glenn, and Mickey, just the entire team on this thing. So I've been reading a lot of the threads, and some of the so there have been certain comments that I figured we would address, because they're honestly really simple to address. So one comment that I saw crop up maybe 3 or 4 times was people commenting about the individual outs being 1/8 inch. So would you like to explain some of these design decisions and why 1/8 inch made more sense?
Well, yeah, I can do it pretty easily here. There's a set of calipers, and if you measure a 1/4 inch jack and you measure 12 1/8 inch jacks, yeah, if you try to put 12 1/4 inch jacks on it, now the product gets a whole lot bigger.
Right.
It's bigger, it gets bulkier, it gets more expensive. It just, you know, grows everything on the product. So, you know, we wanted to keep it thin. We wanted to keep it nice. We wanted to keep the price down.
Yep.
We went to these. It made sense. You know, you can attach directly out of one of these. You can go into your modular. You know, if you want to run one of these in through a filter or something and tweak it, you know, it works great for that, and go from 1/8 inch
to a 1/4 inch.
Well, I do have a question about that. What are the levels that they come out at? How hot are those signals?
They come out just kind of a standard line level, like the mix out.
And does the global filter affect those outs, or is it before the global filter?
No, the filter is only on the master out.
Okay.
The individual outs are pretty much straight off of the drums circuits themselves.
So that, but they're individual.
They're
individual. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Corey. No, I was just going to ask, the individual volumes for each instrument does apply though to the outs, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was noticing that last night. I was actually running the snare out to warps, Mutable Instruments warps, which, you know, the cool thing is that you use that size jacks, because, you know, it seems like it's going to be really friendly for modular users. So I was running the snare out to warps, and then when I was using the filter on the DrumBrute, I noticed right away that, like, oh, it actually was a kind of cool effect. It's like, oh, everything else is being filtered except for the one instrument that I have going out to the modular.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that was
because I mean, in a real production situation, you know, if I was doing a real album, I'd be taking individual outs from the kicks, both of the kicks, from the snare, from the hats. You know, I'd want to be panning toms. I'd want to be, you know, compressing the snare, compressing the kick, maybe EQing things. You know, if you're doing a real like studio mix down, you want to have the individual outs to process each thing individually.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
that's a huge
thing.
In the That's why I used to do the same thing.
I mean, you want to be able to use it in a pro situation as well as just in like the home hobbyist guy.
Right. And that's why, you know, with MPCs, that's always been a big thing with me, is having the outs on the back. I used to hate when they used to have to sell them separately, because, you know, what that meant is I was always going to get that separate unit, because, you know, whether I'd be in the home studio tracking things out, it made it simpler rather than doing one track at a time. You could have the outs, and that with this, you know what I mean?
Right. Yep.
I want to remind everybody also that we do have a live chat running on the YouTube stream as well. So if you're commenting in there and you have questions, we can kind of relay that stuff and laugh at you and all that good stuff.
So. We won't laugh at you.
Yeah, we might. What else we got? So talking about the outs, that kind of leads into something that other people were saying, like, you know how the modular dudes are. No CV, burn it. So was there ever any consideration to have CV on the back of there, considering, especially with all of the outs and the smaller jacks?
Yeah, the question is, okay, so what would the CV do?
Yeah. Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could end up putting a whole bunch of, you could put CV's input, but you'd have to have digital routing to route it to whatever control that you wanted to control, or you'd have to have it hard routed to one specific control. I mean, I've got, 12, 24 knobs on here. So to have CV control over all 30 knobs, you have to have 30 CV inputs.
Oh, that makes no sense. Yeah, that would make no sense. Yeah.
I mean, so you have CV and to do what?
Yeah, maybe so just
you would have to have a DrumBrute matrix, a drum matrix,
yeah.
brute, a matrix
drum matrix brute to route this.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, no, it didn't really make sense to do any kind of CV stuff on here. The one thing that probably would have made sense was having gate outs, but just the fact is trying to fit them on there. And once again, you got to keep a price at some point. We could add everything to it, but it all comes with a price and a size. And
as far as the gate outs aspect of it, and this is kind of what I was, I asked you about this before, but I wanted to ask you about on here, syncing it with a BeatStep Pro, you could then use those gate outs. Are we hoping to get some of the features from DrumBrute to trickle down into BeatStep Pro so that if we do sync them, we can do a lot of the same functionality sequencer wise?
We got to see what we're going to add. We're planning an update right now. The engineer, once again, now that he's almost finished with DrumBrute, we're going to put him back onto BeatStep Pro to do an update in BeatStep Pro and on BeatStep. We want to get both of those products updated here before the end of the year, before we put them onto his next project. So we don't have exactly what we're going to add yet, but we're going to fix some timing issues on BeatStep Pro. And we've got a list of feature requests that users have given that, they post on forums and we say, oh, that's a cool idea. And we log it into our database of stuff. So probably next week, we're going to start revisiting that database and making a hit list of.
Nice. Oh, well, that's cool to know. So it's kind of like, because I know there's a lot of people that use the BeatStep Pro, and I'm sure if they've been requesting features, they'll be happy to know that it's coming. Well, at least it's being considered.
Yeah.
Being considered. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they work great together. You can use the sync out or the MIDI out, lock them together via sync or MIDI, and you fire play on one, the other one will take off and get together.
Nice. What other questions you got from the forum, Ken? I got some questions over
here. A couple of things here. Where was I? Oh, so I did have a question about how the ratcheting works and what sort of ratcheting you can get in there with the timing.
Okay. Yeah, what the ratcheting does is it's based on the looper here. And the looper has like 1/4, 1/8, 16th, 32nd. And that will loop your pattern when you're playing. But we use that same function. Underneath it, you'll see 1, 2, 3, and 4 written. And what you can do is you can hold a step and you can hit this. And you can have either one gate on a step, or it'll send 2 gates. It'll divide the time in half and send 2 gates, or divide it in thirds and send 3 gates, or send 4 on one step.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, you can have, and get, multiple gate patterns and stuff going on to get these kind of ratchet beats and stuff.
And you use that by going to the accent mode, right? Like you go to accent and press a step.
No, you just, it can be an accent or non-accented. and you just hold the step. You hold the step you want, and then this will light up. You'll see either 1, 2, 3, or 4 lit up, and then you just hit the one above it, and you'll see, oh, now it's got 3 hits on that one.
Right. It's almost like ratcheting P-locks.
Yeah. So that's exactly what I was going to ask. So that the sequencer remembers what you do in that regard, right? So.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It remembers all that stuff.
That's not something that you do live. That's actually tied to the sequencer.
Yeah. The looper is live, but not the step repeat. Step repeat is built into your sequencer.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and with the MIDI Control Center software, it can, you can bring your sequences up, and you can even edit, and you'll see the ones that have step repeats, and you can edit it on screen. I don't know why you'd want to, but you can. Your patterns on screen on your computer and send them back.
Gotcha.
Right, and what that looks like, because I remember actually seeing that. What that looks like is like every step is a square, but the square that you have ratcheting on, it divides itself by however many ratchets you have. So it'll have 4 lines in it, or whatever, to make it divided into 4 if you have 4 ratchets in it.
Right. Yeah. So if you've got like a 16th note resolution, and you hit one step on 2. That one step is 2 32nd notes, or it's 4 64th notes.
And the amount of patterns that you can store, 64, right?
Yeah, 64. You got 4 banks of 16.
Okay. And can you chain those patterns together?
For song, you've got like a song mode. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You have song mode. There's a song button right here next to the bank.
Gotcha.
And you can basically you've got 16 songs. You can chain up to 16 patterns within each song and save the song.
Is it easy to copy? Like, so if I make a pattern that's fairly basic, right, to start out with, then copy that to the next pattern, edit that, and then copy forth and go forth like that?
Oh, yeah, copy from pattern to pattern. Yeah, there's a copy function in here, and you can copy patterns. And
well, you can
do it all in real time. It won't
what I like
mess
about
up your
that,
beat when you're copying. And
what I like about it is that when you hit the copy button or the erase button, it makes it simple. So I just hit the copy button. I'll hit it again. If you can see this, when you hit the copy button, things start to blink what you can copy.
Yeah. So you can see that you've got either bank or pattern flashing. So it allows you to copy a bank or a pattern. So if you want to copy whole bank A to bank B, you can. If you want to copy a single pattern to another pattern, you can.
Nice.
And then once you hit
the same pattern, thing with erase actually does even more.
Yeah, actually, when you hit erase, it does that too. That's what I was going to say. I like that feedback. When you hit erase, everything that you could erase goes back. So if you were programming, you can hit erase and just tap a button. Boom, I just erased that instrument. Tap a pad.
Yeah, the erase, copy an instrument or erase an instrument. You can also, if you're in record, if you're in real-time record, you can use the looper like on an MPC on when you sit there and you hold down the note repeat button. You can do that with the looper, and then you can also do that with the erase. So if you're in record, you can hit the erase button and just tap a pad, and it's going to erase per step. So
nice.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, you can note repeat on, and you can erase note off.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of a cool way to build patterns up.
Actually, it is. I didn't know that part. I was building patterns over here on it. But that's the thing. I mean, there's a lot to it, and like you can actually get this thing out the box and start making patterns pretty quickly and pretty easily. But obviously, the longer you spend with it, the more stuff there is you can kind of dig into, which is.
But you don't want to do that. You just want to load up Corey's patterns that he put in there. Instant sound good.
If you just want to make a hit record, just load up Corey's stuff. You're there.
Which honestly, if people haven't checked out Corey's music, they need to, because he does have some serious chops.
Yeah.
So,
good beat maker, real good beat maker.
I will ask. So I'm getting questions on here about your other product line. So the Brutes, you've got the Mini Brute. After that came the Micro Brute. Will there be a Micro DrumBrute?
We're not sure what's coming next. We're we're finishing up projects right now. We're trying to get Audio Fuse finished. We're trying to get Matrix Brute finished. DrumBrute's pretty much already finished. I mean, there's a bunch of them on a boat heading to Europe right now. There's a bunch getting ready to get on a boat to come to the USA in the next day or so.
Nice.
So now we're in the project. Now we're in the project planning phase for our next things.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
They take a left turn and go somewhere else.
I gotta tell you, Glenn. Here's one of the points I wanted to make, because it's interesting. You get people like, I mean, there's even people in our crew that like, yo, I'm not into no drum machines. And you know, usually the kind of
Joe. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Joe. some guy named Saint Joe. but I mean, you know, it's an acquired taste. It took a while to get into drum machines.
Same thing here. Yep.
Yeah, right. Realizing how much you could tweak and what you can make for your own self, that's the big deal. So I will say this, you know, 808 drum machines weren't for everybody, and whatever other drum machines that are out here now aren't for everybody. So like, if you're the type of dude that might like sample kits, or might like sampling from vinyl, or might like drum breaks and stuff, then a drum machine may not be your style and your taste. And that's all good. But for cats who like drum machines and like that kind of analog flavor and that kind of flavor, this is a good option.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I just wanted to make that point.
Yeah, I was, and while you're mentioning that, I was really impressed with the sound of the drum machine. You know what I mean? I mean, because there's something about it, about the sound of the DrumBrute. You know what I mean? It's I can't put it into words, but it sounds incredible. Yeah. Especially those kicks. Those kicks are no joke.
You know what I like? Kick number 2 is actually my favorite of the kicks. The kick number 2, they both sound good, but kick number 2, when you turn down the decay and pitch it down a little bit, it kicks you in the face.
Does this come back to the whole stereotype thing, since he's a hip hop guy and he's liking the 808-ish sound more?
No,
yeah.
Did you nail that? Is that what happened?
I'm more old school Berlin style guy, ambient guy, and I like kick 2 better as well.
Really?
I just like the 808 type of sound.
And I'm a hip hop guy, and I tend to like 909s more. So
you can make the 808 soft, and then you can make it where it like kicks you in the face. And this one, we basically took it and we tuned it so it can go down to 38 hertz. So
yeah, that's pretty.
You know, it's not going to transfer well in YouTube videos where people are listening on their computer going, yeah, that kick, I hate that kick sound. It's like, well, then it's tough to really hear that kick when you got it dialed down. But,
So Glenn, that's the good point. So okay, you know, we're always kind of getting questions. All of us actually are always getting questions about, you know, maybe we put our hands on certain scents that a lot of people haven't put their hands on yet, or maybe heard in person, and you know, can do only so much. Vimeo high definition videos can only do so much. But I gotta say, I don't think many YouTube videos, maybe it's the conversions or the compressions or something, it really doesn't do justice for the sound of anything.
No, and that's the problem we run up against. You know, and you read some comments from different people on anybody's product. And, you know, the first thing that you'll see is some guy, oh, it doesn't sound good. It's like, well, how are you listening to it? You know, you're listening to some, you know, compressed thing off of YouTube, listening on your phone, you know, up next to your head, or listening on your laptop speakers. You know, are you listening through a set of Genelec 1031s with a nice sub? You know, how are you listening to this? You know,
that makes all the difference.
It's like, quantify it, please. You know?
Well, because I mean, like for instance, you know, there's sense that I have that I've looked at videos that I've already seen it at NAMM. I look at the videos, I'll be like, that thing sucks. Yeah, and I'm like, are they using the same thing that we saw at NAMM? Go to the store when it comes out. It's like, oh, that's
wow. This right. Yeah.
That's the problem with, you know, so much of the, well, I'd say music today even is, you know, that we can deliver these great formats. We can do, you know, 192 24-bit stuff, and then people, you know, will turn it on their phone and listen to it, you know. from the little speaker coming out the little hole in the side. And it's like,
I'm notorious for that on lunch when I'm downtown LA. So I'm just like, yep, I heard
yeah.
it.
when
And I got judgment on
LA, you know,
that's right.
Now,
but when your noise floor is about 112 dB and you're listening to this.
That's right.
now the only I was getting a question in there. They were asking about onboard effects, and the only effect would be the analog Steiner Parker filter. But this Steiner Parker filter is configured differently than the Mini Brute and Matrix Brute one, because it's a continuous slope from low pass to high pass, right?
No, it's a low pass or a high pass. There's a
Low
switch
pass
to
or high
switch
pass.
the circuit. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
it's one of the other. I can give you some history on the product. We actually wanted to do a center detent where it was high pass one way, low pass the other. We kind of played with that, and the filter response just never was there. Right. I can bring up like one of my original drawings here just for laughs. And you can see we had a little bit more knobs. This drawing was from March 2015. You know, it came out pretty close, which most of my products don't come out that close. I mean, we change them 1,000 ways, but I wanted to have like a single knob distortion as well. I wanted one knob that was high pass one way, low pass the other, one a single knob distortion, and then a single knob compressor.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And the problem that we ran into electrically working on this, it's really easy if you have like a digitally controlled compressor and a digitally controlled distortion controlled filter to do that kind of stuff. But we had the direct analog circuit. So to get a distortion to sound good, you've got to have the drive amount, but then you have to have the gain amount. And then you have to kind of compensate. If you want to keep an equal level, you have to compensate the gain as the drive goes up. Otherwise, you just
this
end
is
up
something that other lower priced drums did not do.
Right.
This was the downfall of other drum machines, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I mean, you can't having a one knob distortion is great if you have digital control over the circuit, but if you don't have digital control, you really need to have a separate gain and a separate drive so that as you're turning up the drive, you can turn down the gain to keep your levels the same.
Right. Yep.
Well, you know,
so you've got a threshold, the output level. So as you crank the threshold down and it's compressing more, then you got to make up that output level. So you really have two things that have to happen at once, and doing it with a single knob analog, it just never worked out. So we left that idea because we didn't want it to sound bad and went to something that sounded good.
Well, you know what you could have did? Actually, Glenn, you should have called me, because I would have just said, put both knobs on there and use a rubber band. That's when you turn it.
or you could have included the rubber band in the box.
There you go.
Didn't Teenage Engineering have like a little kit where they like they put little knobs and stuff? That stuff is awesome. Like, oh man, that's thinking outside the box.
Kind of along those lines, though, Glenn. I think I may have asked you this, but it would be interesting for the people here now. With it being a DrumBrute, the first thing I expected to, not the first thing I expected, one of the things I expected was to see the brute force knob. So can you tell us a bit about, you know, was the brute force knob ever on there, or why you all chose, you know, not to go with the brute force now, considering it is a brute like the Micro and the Mini?
Right. Well, the way that the brute circuit works is that the brute circuit is almost like on the Mini Moog, where guys just take the headphone output, feed the headphone output back into the external input. So it's post VCA. So it's a feedback loop that goes from, you've got your filter and you got your VCA filter through the VCA back, and it feeds back into the filter. So we would have had to put a master VCA, and you can't really do a master VCA on a polyphonic drum machine because you'd have to be opening that thing. But it would do weird stuff on the sound. So we could have just done a feedback on the filter, but that's basically what resonance is feedback on the filter. So, you know, yeah, we thought about it, but there was not really a way to do it that made any sense in a drum machine format. On a synth, you know, especially on a mono synth, on the voice, it makes total sense because you got a envelope triggering the VCA that's opening it.
Right.
That's
Yep.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
So I do have a question about the resonance on that filter. So is there a certain set point that you guys came up with for the resonance? That's not tweakable, right?
no, it's tweakable. There's two knobs on there. One's a cutoff knob, one's a resonance knob.
Oh, okay. I thought you just had the one knob. Okay, yeah. Well, then that worked.
No, it's a resonance and a cutoff knob.
Very nice.
Yeah.
What about the?
That's probably fun to look at. You know, when we were originally doing the modules in our sound test, we started off by making little Eurorack modules.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
oh man.
I've got a whole bunch of DrumBrute Eurorack modules that were our test bed for testing the sound, and we get the sound circuit and we go, yeah, that's right. No, that's not right. You know, this knob goes too far. It doesn't go far enough. You know, tweak the circuits here or there.
For a year. That looks like a marketable product to me right there.
Can of worms.
that is a can of worms there, Glenn.
Yeah, I guess so.
Now, see,
there's guys who sell Eurorack stuff and who do a great job of it.
Mm-hmm. We talked to you about that before, about will Arturia ever go into to Eurorack stuff, and you guys said you wouldn't, and then there you go making DrumBrute Eurorack modules testing. That's how it starts.
So for personal pleasure, I mean, why don't you have those suckers mounted up right now in your case? I know I would.
Because when you get done with the DrumBrute and Eurorack module, it takes up like the whole thing.
Right.
Yeah. I'm actually. Where is it? It's hidden back behind it. I got another rack down there that I have all my favorite modules in. I'll dig it out just for fun.
You gotta love the way the Matrix Brute can just kind of angle up and down, and
I took my little Pittsburgh modules and I took out all my favorite DrumBrute modules, and I've got them in here. So
wow.
Nice.
Man,
that's gonna be a thing of legend. Like when this drum machine is classic,
yeah,
it's gonna be like there was two actual Eurorack versions, made
prototypes.
Yeah, part of the fun prototypes.
So let me ask you about clocking on this thing. So right now, can it do all the same clocking modes that BeatStep Pro can do, like 24 PPQ? What else you got? 48, one step. Two step.
Yeah, you got one pulse per step, so you can just send a clock input. You got the 2 pulse per quarter note, which is the same as the Volcas. You got 24 pulse per quarter note DIN, and then 48 DIN. And then you got MIDI sync, and then you got USB MIDI sync.
Very nice. Now, Corey, your overall impressions of it, because you got to do some presets on this thing and you've had it for a while playing with it. How do you see it sitting in your setup?
Okay, so
because you also have a Electron Rhythm, so it's not like this is your first analog drum machine in the setup. How does this how do you feel it sits in your setup, you know, alongside your MPC and everything else?
So, and I also just recently got, because it was such a great deal and I can't find them very often, the machine drum, right?
Oh yeah, you just got that. Yeah.
So the machine drum, the rhythm, and the DrumBrute. So the machine drum is a digital drum machine, and it can kind of imitate all kinds of things, and it's its own thing. It has its own sound. The rhythm is a very it's a very modern type of sound, right? And I think that the DrumBrute has a more classic sound. So you all know that I was hitting you up like out of nowhere, like, hey y'all, I think I'm gonna build a Yocto like 808 or 909 clone or something. And everybody was like, boo, in the text message, like, boo. And I was like, dang. I mean, I kind of, every now and then, I kind of want those sounds. And I think this actually murdered my my lust for 808 or 909 because it sits somewhere in that classic type of sense.
Definitely.
And it's different from the rhythm, and it's obviously different from the machine drum. So yeah, it's definitely useful in that way, where it's a different flavor. It's a more classic flavor. That's why when I hear people saying like Vermona, because Vermona, that joint has that kind of flavor to me too, like a more classic sounding warm stuff. You know?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm getting a interesting topic that was asked in the chat room, and I kind of have an idea about this, but I figured I would bring it up to you and see what your thoughts are because, well, I don't want to lead you into an answer, so I'll just ask it. So the question was, let me actually scroll up a little bit so I don't butcher his question completely. But
it's a long one. Good
gosh. Well, no, it's pretty succinct, really, and I kind of, you know, I see why he's asking it, but he's asking why the music companies are pushing dance music on us. Says seems like all the gear is dance music geared. Why not just good music for all genres? And was wondering about, you know, as far as the genre specification and why he feels that it's a push towards, I guess, techno and EDM, that kind of stuff. So what are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on that are that, no, we really designed this not to be just one of those genres. I mean, I specifically, like I said, I come from old school electro stuff, like, you know, Jean-Michel Jarre, Tangerine Dream. My stuff's even more ambient than that. You know, Carbon-Based Life Forms, Hoover Network, some of those kind of groups. Yeah, it fits my sound really well for that kind of old style. I think that it's going to fit guys kind of want to influence like some classic hip hop stuff. I think it'll be fit that. We specifically, that's why we did 2 kicks on it, was that, you know, the guys in the French office, a lot of these more into techno, they're into hard tech, they're into, you know, more of the EDM styles that are out there, and they really like it. So, I mean, it really does cover a whole bunch of different genres. You know, is it the right thing for, you know, Norwegian death metal? Probably not. You know,
you're so judgmental.
You're so judgmental.
You want to do, you know, jungle polka? This might not be your machine, but no, I think that,
I don't know, man. Some of the percussion sounds in that thing, like the tambourine, I could see that working really well.
Yeah,
I've got a family history in polka, so I'm just saying.
Yeah, and my wife too. No, you know, there's a great jazz Brucker. He used to use MPCs and drum machines in his jazz pieces a lot. You can use it in different things. You shouldn't take any instrument, I think. If it's really an instrument, you shouldn't just sit there and pigeonhole it, even if the company pigeonholes it into one thing.
Right.
It's generating sounds. You know, take the sounds and do something with them. They don't have to go to this genre,
exactly.
or this, or this style of music. I mean, you could use this, and you're into country music, you know, use an MPC.
Right.
You know, try using an analog synth. Try using an analog drum machine. Do something outside of what is normally there, and maybe you'll do something really cool and create your own sound. You know, don't just go, oh, this box is designed for this, so, you know, I don't like it, or, you know, this, I do this music and there's no way that this can do anything in that music.
And I think so it looks like Corey's just joining us again, so that's a good thing. But one of the main aspects that I kind of, my personal take on it also is just that for one, it's mostly marketing, and they have to latch onto a group because it's going to spur sales. And the more you get like a specific group talking about an item, then it gets shared inside of that group even more, and then you get more sales. So at some point, as a sound designer, I deal with this also, because I deal with, you know, I hate making sound packs where I say, oh, this is this genre sound pack, or this is that genre. Like, I just want to make good sounds that are unique and say, okay, people use them. But the truth of the matter is that if I make a pack and I say, hey, it's geared towards, you know, EDM, or it's geared towards trap or whatever, it's going to sell way faster because people are going to know what it is without question. And then they, you know, they feel like they can buy it and not be rooting around in it forever, trying to figure out what they're getting out of it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So
No, totally. I mean, I totally get that. There's also, you know, so many of the, I'll say, are coming out of Europe right now. And in Europe, you know, techno is really big. You know, if you're under 35, you know, techno is probably influencing you somehow, whether it's on, if you go, you know, I spend a few months every year in France going back and forth for work, and you watch TV and everything, you know, the ads, the background music, there's all this stuff is like kind of based in different types of EDM genres and stuff. And so it's really pervasive in the European culture, I think. So, you know, on coming out and then Native Instruments and Ableton and all these other companies, that's what they're influenced by. So, you know, for me, I'm trying to do things with Arturia where, yeah, we've got that influence and we definitely have the Euro sound, but at the same time, I want the sounds that you're going to get more in the American sound. Because I think a lot of those companies, they miss it relative at all. You know, there's, you know, how many of them are trying to actively pursue, you know, trap or hip hop? How many of them are actively trying to pursue R&B, you know, or like I said, country music or something like that?
And I think it's like you said, you know, keeping an instrument to be available to all genres, you know, and not just pigeonhole in one thing. I think that makes a lot of sense because, you know, you'll use it in the way you'll use it and it'll inspire you rather than, you know, just saying, oh, this is hip hop or this is trance or, you know, this is techno, you know, so.
Well, as musicians, we should be like painters. I mean, we should be able to have access to every color in the paint palette. And you can't just say, oh, red is just, you know, when I want something bold and bright, you know.
Right.
When you're painting a picture, you can use a little bit of red mixed in, you know, with some darker colors to give it, you know, shadowing, or you can use, you know.
Well, I know that Bryce
in a nighttime.
I know that Bryce is also a guitar player, and I try to inform him constantly that people who buy Gibson SGs are only allowed to perform hardcore, you know, hardcore punk. And if you try to play anything else on an SG, your hands will literally catch fire. And that's the same. It's the same with electronic music equipment. Like if you get something like the Matrix Brute or something, you know, something that's, you know, that's really deep like that, and you try to play something simple like trap on it, I'm pretty sure the electrons inside the machine will jump out and stab you in the eye. Like,